Antarctica is a mystery. Global warming. It is melting ice that has been there for about 20,000 years. And it began to expose these complex structures. These are massive complex structures with room after room after room after room. Google Earth pixelated all of that out. They don't want us seeing. There was a film crew from Los Angeles that went down to document what was happening, and they have not been heard from since. They've disappeared. If they were successful in finding the bases, they probably would not have been allowed to leave. Mainstream doesn't want to talk about it. They've been told not to talk about that.
That is so interesting to me. So if all the ice is melting and all these old structures are popping up and they're not allowing us to know about them, why do you think they chose these things to not let us know about? I mean, I guess it'd be kind of hard to hide the pyramids of Giza, and that's why they're trying so hard to keep the truth behind them covered up. Why do you think they're so selective about the things that they share with us and things they don't? If we have ancient structures that we know about and that are here, like the pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx and all this other shit that's in mainstream archaeology, do you think that those were just exposed before they decided not to share things with us from our past? So they're just like, you know, giving them different stories? Or do you think that they just don't hold as much history inside of them as the things that they're keeping from us, like in Antarctica and everywhere else in the world? Just super interesting to me, the fact that they're just covering up some stuff and just not all of it.
Bruh, what on earth is this thing? Apparently it's called the opium or the erosion bird, and looking at it makes me feel weird. And don't worry, they're definitely AI generated, but many are beginning to claim that creatures like this are actually real, and we've already encountered them in our past before. Depictions of bird-like creatures have been found all over the ancient world, in Mesopotamia and Egypt, and even all the way across the ocean in the Mayans and Aztecs. Why did cultures all around the world just all independently come up with the same allegedly fictitious anthropomorphic bird? The ruins left behind by one of these ancient civilizations are rumored to have been discovered and then covered up in Antarctica as well. A lot of controversy behind these. I actually made another video about it, so check it out if you want to know more. They were allegedly uncovered during an expedition led by Captain Robert Falcon Scott in 1912. Fast forward a couple years to 1946 for yet another Antarctic expedition, this time led by Admiral Richard Byrd. Robert Falcon Scott? Admiral Richard Byrd? Okay, these are definitely coincidences. Anyway, we were fresh out of World War II, and Admiral Byrd was tasked with mapping out sites for potential future military sites in the South Pole. While scouting, him and his crew stumbled on something that no one in the world would have ever expected, and he documented it all in his personal diary, which didn't make the final cut of his official publication and was discovered by his son years after his death. In here, he recounts a mind-boggling story. As he flies over Antarctica, he passes over some mountains and discovers an enormous opening in the icy surface. Him and his squadron fly into it, and all of a sudden, they're surrounded by a luscious green landscape of grass and forests. He continues on, seeing giant creatures roaming around him, and he's brought to a shimmering rainbow city made of crystal. He's surrounded by these flying disc-shaped objects that lead him to the ground, and he's brought to a tall being called the Master. Highly advanced beings living in a futuristic city inside the Earth? Yup, it's the infamous Hollow Earth theory. And yeah, all of this is in his diary. And to be clear, Admiral Byrd was one of the most decorated and highly celebrated officers in the American military. He wrote this diary during his prime years, not when he became old, so dismissing it all as a senile crackpot's journal doesn't make any sense. In the diary, he talks about meeting this tall being who tells them they're disappointed in humanity and are afraid that we might nuke ourselves into extinction. And this is around the time we started doing nuclear testing. Maybe this was our first glimpse of the real erosion bird? Bird-like gods, entrances to underground worlds in Antarctica with tall beings. Kinda checks out. And maybe these beings and all the flying discs mentioned are also related to all the UFO sightings we've been seeing in the past couple years. Apparently, Admiral Byrd really wanted to share these findings, but was ordered by the military to stay silent about it. Along with bird-like beings, records of inner Earth civilizations have been reported by many, if not almost every ancient society of our past. Buddhists have the subterranean kingdom of Agartha. Ancient Indians have Patala. The Mayans got Xibalba, an underworld civilization, which is called Chico Mostok for the Aztecs. Ancient African and other native cultures talk about subterranean cavern spirits. The Sumerians knew it as Kur, Babylonians Urkala. Ancient Chinese Diyu, Japanese Yomi. Ancient Egyptian, Greek, Roman, and even Celtics all had myths of an underground world inhabited by superior beings, some of whom were cast out of this utopia onto the surface of Earth and started humanity as we currently know it. Could this even be the original Garden of Eden? And just like the flood myth that appears in every single ancient civilization, when stories are repeated this often, we have to ask ourselves, what if they actually happened? These giant holes have been reported to be seen at the poles on numerous occasions. In 1829, a fisherman named Olaf Janssen claims to have sailed through a polar opening and into the planet's interior, where he met a race of tall beings, giants. In 1985, a naval engineer team at McMurdo Station in the South Pole reports seeing circular aircraft flying above an area called the Beardmore Glacier. They couldn't investigate it because the area was a no-fly zone, obviously. But at one point, they get an emergency call from an injured crew member that needs immediate evacuation. In order to get to him on time, they needed to fly through the Beardmore Glacier. And when they did, they reported seeing almost exactly what Admiral Byrd documented. A giant football field-sized opening, some sort of entrance in the ice leading deep beneath the surface. And when they get back to the station, a man in a black suit arrives, telling them that they did not see what they just saw. Are these the entrances to the hidden underground lands of our past, like Agartha, and the true home of the erosion bird?
I absolutely love the Hollow Earth theory. I'm kind of on board with it, just because I like it so much. I don't know if I've seen enough evidence to really 100% believe it's true. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff out there leaning toward, it being a possibility. But I think with all this stuff, I think all of us are a little bit biased in the sense to where the stuff that we like, we lean a little more toward just like hoping it's true. I mean, maybe not everyone. Some of us could be maybe 100% rational and logical, like I try to be. But like I said, hoping something is true isn't the same as believing it's true. And a lot of these things, I hope they're true. I hope there are more, land masses outside an ice wall. I hope that there isn't a species living within inner Earth. I hope that, everything we hear about outer space and aliens on other planets is true. I love the possibility of all that stuff. Not saying I believe it all. I'm saying I like it. So there's definitely things that I hope are more true than other things. And this is one of those things. But let me know what you think about the Hollow Earth theory. Do you think it's true? Do you think that they are coming out to warn us with the flying saucers? Every time it seems like there's a war that is being started, we're seeing more UFOs. Do you think that they're trying to tell us this could be the last one if you guys, get trigger happy, fucking chill out?
There's some pyramid-like structures or hills in China as well, right?
There's thousands of pyramids in China. Xi'an, the province of Xi'an, is just the moment you land there from your aircraft, you're seeing pyramids everywhere. I've been there. There are certainly hundreds and hundreds of them, distributed across fields, vanishing off into the distance in all directions. They've been terraced and used as agriculture. The local farmers grow crops on them. I went there with Chinese archaeologists. They haven't excavated a single one. Not one.
Why not?
They said, we don't have, this was nearly 10 years ago I was there. They said they probably got the money now, but they said then they didn't have the money. They said, we're an old country. We don't mind if we wait 200 years to get to grips with this.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And the famous tomb of the first emperor is part of this pattern. It is also a pyramid. It has also not been excavated. The terracotta army around it has been found.
The terracotta army is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It was on display somewhere, wasn't it? Where you can go and see it live?
Yeah, they did some kind of travel.
I'd want to see that thing. I'd want to look at those things. What a bizarre concept. Now, these pyramids, so this one that this emperor was buried in that had the terracotta army, was that a pyramid as well?
It is a pyramid.
It is.
Absolutely. It's a man-made pyramid. The terracotta army was buried around its edges, not in the pyramid itself.
So the army was there to protect him?
Yeah, to protect his soul into the afterlife seems to have been the idea. And then there's a mythology that's come down that within the pyramid is a lake of mercury, that there are mechanical devices in there which will fire arrows at you if you go in. That there's a whole story about how intensely protected it is, and up to this day it's not been excavated.
That's so crazy. How could someone leave that alone?
And even major archaeological sites like Tiwanaku in Bolivia, for example, you'll find that only about 2% of the site has been excavated. I don't know how we can draw inferences about the whole site from a tiny little fraction like that, and that's the problem, I think, with archaeology, and it's why we have to consider another way.
We're looking at an image of the terracotta army now in front of this pyramid, and it is spectacular. Now that I think about it, I don't think that was on display anywhere. I think maybe they had a couple of them.
They brought some of them. They came to the British Museum. There were a number of museums.
But it's so much bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah.
How many? There's thousands.
Yeah.
There's thousands of these terracotta figures.
Absolutely.
And this pyramid was made out of what? Was it stones?
Ramped earth, mainly.
Okay. So they just sort of shaped the ground. They just dug around it.
Yeah, they brought in earth and turned it into a pyramidal mound. over the
But
top.
it wasn't.
It's
so
not,
it's just.
it's not
stacked
massive
on
stone
top.
blocks. It's not massive stone. That's why they can grow crops on the sides of some of these pyramids.
Wow, how weird.
Yeah.
So they would build these giant mounds of dirt and then dig holes in them and support them. And like,
Well,
what
they
would
probably
do on the inside
they
of
probably
it?
created the interior, subterranean as they were building the whole thing over it. Yeah.
And then just stack dirt on top of it.
Yeah.
Wow, what a weird way to make a house.
Yeah, and then we have to consider this with archaeological sites all around the world, is that any site may actually not be the product of just one culture, but may have been reworked and worked over and used by many different cultures over
This
many
is
different periods.
stunning to me. I found out about this because of a friend of John Anthony West who was here with him. He showed me, he lives in China, and he was showing me some video of it. And I was like, how do I not know about this? I had no idea there was this many of them. Oh, so here's one that's exposed?
Controversial ancient pyramids of China.
That one
Yeah.
looks exposed.
Yeah.
It's
And that
made of
one looks
stone.
blocky. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that is another thing about China that we just don't have a clue. When we think about the age and scale of things, we're so silly. We've only been around since 1776 is when the country was established. It's not really that long ago. You're dealing with China. You're dealing with literally thousands of years of civilization, all rising and falling and taking place and adapting and growing, all in this one area. That's still, in our eyes, in a lot of ways, it's kind of behind, right? I mean, they're behind environmentally. They're behind when it comes to human rights.
Consider this. The Portuguese, in the late 1400s, have rounded the Cape of Good Hope, and they've entered the Indian Ocean in their little ships. They've entered the Indian Ocean, and they actually establish a huge empire. They go to Malacca. They go all over the place, okay? The seas are open to them. If they had come 40 years earlier, they would have encountered the Chinese treasure ships. Ships that were 50 times larger than the little caravels that the Portuguese were sailing in. But you know what the Chinese did at that time? They went through a period where they felt they just wanted to give gifts to people. And they put together these huge fleets carrying incredibly precious gifts, silks and ceramics, and they took them all around the Indian Ocean and they just gave them to people. Wow. So off the coast of East Africa and in East Africa you can find remains of this pottery from this episode. And then a Chinese emperor came along and he closed the doors, burned all the boats, shut everything down, and didn't let anybody speak to China for 200 years.
Whoa, what a dick.
Well, he felt that it was time for the Chinese culture to turn inward.
Yeah.
And they were afraid that their ancient culture, on one hand, there might have been maybe a laudable motive in that they were concerned that the ancient culture was going to get contaminated by too much contact with degenerate cultures from other places, and that was a factor in it.
That constant desire to maintain the current situation.
It's human. We have to say it's some kind of human nature.
Yeah.
The Terracotta Army is incredible. I saw it at the Field Museum in Chicago when I was living there. It was awesome. They had 3, I think, of the actual Terracotta Army statues, like encased, like protected, obviously, because they're very old and fragile. And they had like a miniature, exact replica of the entire layout of where they're digging them up. And I guess every one of those soldiers, those statues, is different. Like there's not one that's identical because they're based off of the actual soldiers that were part of that Terracotta Army to protect that dude. So it's super fucking interesting, super awesome display. Obviously, it was at the museum, so it didn't talk about any of the conspiracies or any of the pyramids and stuff like that. But just learning a little bit and actually seeing the statues like up close was really fucking cool. And there are conspiracies around this, so let me know if you're interested in hearing about some of those.
Cardi B is clearly being controlled.
Nobody asked me about
You've probably seen this video. She freezes.
So is there going to be a public registry? Because I'm going to be honest with you.
He notices.
Take the gift cards. Fuck everybody's present.
And then to bring her back, he claps 1, 2, 3, repeats itself. She's back. Now watch this video. Watch when she freezes. Now notice how the people in the background noticed what was happening, and then the interviewer said, "It's good, it's good, it's good," and then Cardi came right back too. Notice the people in the background notice, and then she says it's good 3 times. And that's when Cardi B comes back. My wife actually pointed out the correlation of the repeating themselves 3 times before she came back too. Nevertheless, you have to admit that is weird. Evidence of MK Ultra?
I'll be the first to admit that there's some weird shit that celebrities do and how they act and shit like that, but I think Cardi B, that's just like her whole demeanor. It's just kind of weird. Like, she's very animated from what I've seen. I don't listen to her music. It's not my thing. Not my vibe. I don't really pay attention to anything that she does in her personal life. But from things that I've seen like this, like, she is very animated and she does, you know, kind of do things to like provoke a reaction out of people. Who knows? When it comes to these celebrities, I don't know, man. The ones that are like really in spotlight, maybe they are, you know, being controlled. I know that some of them have handlers. I don't know if that's just a PR department or what, and they just call them handlers to like keep them out of trouble and shit. But who knows, man? Who knows? I don't want to find out.
And guys, we're down here taking breaks. We're downtown Flint. Downtown. So check this out. That tree is clearly 300 years old. Probably 200. But look at what we found inside. What is this? I got some markings on it, but I don't know. That ain't natural. Anybody got any thoughts?
I'm thinking maybe like an old grave. Maybe somebody like planted a tree on top of a grave next to a gravestone hundreds of years ago, and it just grew around it like that. Who knows though? Like, just because America's a new country doesn't mean the continent is new. You know, this continent's been around just as long as any other continent, and there have been civilizations that have lived here long before us Americans came here and started doing our thing. So at the end of the day, I guess you don't really know until it gets looked at and it gets tested and carbon dated and all that fucking shit. But in this case, I think it was probably, like I said, just a grave potentially that someone planted the tree on.
This photo was taken at a boxing event a couple of years ago by the mother of my friend who's fighting, and she posted a couple of pictures of the night on Facebook, to which everyone kept asking who the girl is in the ring. I was at the event and never recall seeing her, and neither could anyone else. So we looked into this a bit more, and we found out that years before the venue used to be a children's home and got burnt down. And my mate seems to think that they look like burn marks on her arm. What do y'all think? Everyone thought yes.
Oh no, that's not right.
That's not right.
Oh.
That's not right. For all the people that are like, that's just a girl in the ring, no one can remember seeing her.
And that is a person that you would remember.
You would remember seeing a skulking, creepy girl walking around the ring.
But picture it like a gas tank meter. When you are a fresh entity, you're on full. And when you start to do things like you become full-bodied apparitions, you interact, you move things, whatever, what have you, and they're expending energy, that gas tank ticks down. But a lot of times the freshest entities are the most solid in that way. So this, at least for me, this feels like an entity that died very recently.
I'm beginning to think it's not human.
Really?
And I think it is imitating someone who died from fire. And again, wild conjecture. There's no sensationalization there.
Exactly.
The face, the eyes look a little too large and dark.
And the mouth is like non-existent.
Is hardly existent. And we talk about this a lot when entities parade as humans, they don't always get it right. There's certain aspects of it that just aren't completely right. Like the hair is not quite right.
Nope. First things first. That's a nope. I have a lot of friends that fight. I got a few buddies that are pro boxers, a few that are amateur and pro, MMA fighters, UFC fighters and shit. And if I was ever at one of those fights and I saw that shit, that would freak me the fuck out for sure. Especially if I saw it after the fact in a photograph, and being there and not seeing it. Fuck, man. I don't know if I can ever go to a fight again. That's fucking wild. That's interesting what they said, though, about, non-human entities not always getting it right. Being that the eyes may be a bit different, the hair might be a bit different, the mouth non-existent. But if it was a burn victim, I could see the hair being like matted and like that, and the eyes blackened out, maybe like charred, burnt or something, and maybe the fucking lips just being burnt off. I don't know. That is terrifying. keep my composure as much as possible. But that's a big fucking nope. That's a nope more than anything. I need a nope bell or like a fucking horn or something to hit when there's something like this that just fucking trips me out. Fuck that.
I don't know if you saw this story, Jeremy, but basically Ron DeSantis tried to take away Disney World's rights of self-governance since they're pushing all the child grooming stuff lately. And Disney World came back and was like, not so fast. We only answer to the crown. And this is just almost hilarious if you know what's going on, because they would never ever admit this unless they were forced to in a situation like this. But they basically admitted, like, you don't have jurisdiction over us because we're owned by Britain. So for those of you who are like confused by this, apparently the land that Disney World is on is owned by the crown. And so since like 1960, Disney World has basically been a tax-free sovereign district, you know, exempt from taxes and anything to do with federal statutes. And they basically claim to just be like an apolitical charity. You know, Disney does a lot of charity work so that they can be tax exempt. Then they started pushing all this woke stuff, and so Ron DeSantis was like, all right, guys, you want to get involved in politics? Then let's do politics. We're going to take away your tax exempt status in Florida. But then Disney World came back and pulled out this clause from the British Bill of Rights, which is a royal clause that dates back to like 1692. And it says that essentially Britain has sovereignty over any territory of the crown until the last descendant of King Charles III has passed. And
that's wild. I didn't know that was a thing. I know that like we can sell pieces of our land here to other countries. I don't know if we're allowed to, but I know that it's happened. But I'm not really sure like how that stops. I don't know the laws and the rules around that. I don't know if like overall the US still has, you know, controlling power over that land because it's on US soil. I don't know. This whole thing with Disney World and DeSantis has been pretty crazy back and forth. I live down here in Florida, but I don't know a ton about all of this stuff. Maybe I should learn more about this stuff living down here. But then again, I still haven't even learned how to swim, and I've been living down here in Florida for 3 years, so we'll see.
Deep in the heart of the Louisiana Bayou, a tale unfolds at the Myrtles Plantation, an estate with a sinister past. It's said to be one of the most haunted places in the South. The story begins in the 19th century when the plantation was a thriving cotton farm. One chilling tale tells of Chloe, a slave who had her ear amputated as punishment. She was caught listening to private discussions and was subsequently subjected to a brutal punishment. Seeking revenge, she poisoned her owner's family with a cake. They died in agony, and her vengeful spirit still roams the property. Visitors have heard her cries and seen her ghostly figure lurking near the grand mirror. The Myrtles Plantation boasts at least a dozen restless spirits. From ghostly children who mysteriously play in the hallways, to a Confederate soldier who wanders the grounds. These tormented souls make the Myrtles a place where the living dare not tread after dark, leaving visitors to wonder if they'll make it through the night.
That's creepy. Tormented spirits, man. That's something I don't often voluntarily dip my fingers in. I don't want any pissed off spirits.
Did you know that there were World's Fair exposition events held in Brazil during the 1800s and early 1900s? As the story goes, in the city of Rio de Janeiro in 1908, the Brazilian National Exposition was held near the Babylon Hill area. Just like all the other similar events from around the world, a small city of incredibly ornate and diverse architectural wonders were constructed in an impressively short amount of time. They say that almost everything was built using wood, plaster, and other temporary materials, but it was done on a gigantic scale, with one structure exceeding 50,000 square feet. And then, after all that time, effort, and planning, not to mention money, the event opened a month late and only lasted for 3 months. As per usual with these events, it was a financial failure for the organizers and investors. And then, according to plan, of course, they tore everything down as soon as the event was over. Isn't it interesting, though, that we often find in these areas certain isolated structures that have survived to the present day? One such example is the state's Pavilion building, which is now the Earth Sciences Museum. There's no indication that this structure was any different from all the others at the expo, and yet, for some apparently arbitrary reason, they decided to make it using permanent materials. Today it houses one of Brazil's most important collections of historical artifacts, but it is the building itself that is arguably the most fascinating and important historical treasure in the collection. The massive 65,000 square foot building is constructed with carved ashlar stone and local gneiss. Its interior is filled with rich architectural details, cast iron and brass elements, tile and marble floors, as well as all the finest furnishings, statues, and original art by famous painters. And just like every other part of the expo, there were tens of thousands of electric lights, both inside and outside, that would illuminate the grounds at night. It looks like it belongs somewhere in old world Europe. Many of these buildings appear to have been constructed with the same level of craftsmanship. Why do we find this recurring architectural motif in so many major cities across the world? Were these structures truly just temporary, or might they hide important truths about our world history, kept secret from the public eye? Could there have existed a unified global system prior to World War I? Its true timeline obscured by time and the fog of multiple wars? What were they trying to hide?
All right, so here's the thought that I just had. So I am all for this. Like, I love the mud flood conspiracy. I love thinking that, you know, all these buildings have like been around, like old world buildings that were real and, you know, built with, you know, either Freemasons that came from Europe, and that's why the architecture was similar to, you know, European buildings, or forgotten, lost, or hidden technology that helped build all this stuff in such a short time. I love all that shit. But now I'm thinking about it, and I don't know if this is quite what I believe yet. It's just a thought I had right now when I was making this comparison about this building sticking around and being similar to the other ones that they tore down. It's a World's Fair, right? So it's basically like a science fair or some place where people come to kind of see what's possible, kind of come see what people's different abilities are, kind of like concept cars, right? It's not like a mass production car, but they'll make something that looks really fucking cool to show you what they're capable of. It's like a runway show as well. Like all the crazy shit that like these avant-garde fashion designers make, like that's not actually in their fashion line. That's just basically to like stretch to the extent, like the very furthest abilities of that designer or that artist, you know, capabilities. And that's why it looks so fucking weird. It's not things people would actually wear. It's just to show you like the mind behind the fashion designer. So I'm thinking if these buildings were actually like paper mache or like a Hollywood movie set, you know, just kind of like empty shells, like what they're saying, if they built those around the actual like well-made buildings, if they were to build these like paper mache buildings around that, I could see the reasoning be just to kind of show, you know, what is capable, what the capabilities are of like the humans doing this stuff. So I could see the rationale behind believing that these buildings were, you know, just put up in a very short time using, you know, temporary materials and really not having any interior to them, just kind of being like a Hollywood movie set. I could see that. I could see the rationality behind believing that. I prefer to think that they were actually built. They were actual like real buildings and stuff, though. Even if that doesn't make as much sense for me to believe, even if, you know, it's a little more out there, a little further out there, I'm still on the side of believing that, you know, these structures, these buildings were actually created and torn down for whatever reason. And only because, well, I guess not only because I like the idea of, you know, us having the ability to do that at some point in history, but also just because like all the other shit that they're hiding from us, you know, the terracotta army, the pyramids around there, like we saw in this video, all these other structures in Antarctica and on the moon and wherever else these structures are, like all the shit like they're keeping from us, like, yeah, why wouldn't they? You know, why wouldn't they keep this from us? Why wouldn't they keep whatever processes we made to build these buildings from us in order to, you know, push toward using, you know, disposable, cheap materials to keep, you know, companies in business and their profits up? And I mean, it's kind of like using fossil fuel. Like, there's no reason to use that shit anymore if we really don't want to. I'm sure we could probably run fucking cars and planes on water right now if we wanted to, but we're not, because it's not profitable, you know? So yeah, so that's where I'm going to go with this. I think I like the idea of these being very real things. And dude, the World's Fair Chicago looked so fucking awesome from the photos I saw. I would love to have seen all that while living in Chicago. It's really depressing, actually, when it comes down to it. It's really depressing that we're not able to really know what's going on, not really see everything that we're capable of, and and see everything that we've done so far. Like there's so much beautiful like architecture and art that we're allowed to see. Like, I can only imagine the kind of stuff that we're not allowed to see or not allowed to know about. It's really depressing.
Did you hear about the Balenciaga missing person?
No.
This is fucked. In one of the Balenciaga stores, the mannequin that they have, the one that looks human, is actually a missing person.
Holy shit.
There's this model for Balenciaga. His name is Christopher G. And he posed on so many different ads for Balenciaga, different shoots, everything. But he went missing. And around the same time he went missing, what happens? They have a mannequin in one of the Balenciaga stores that looks exactly like him. Look at this picture. This is a picture of the mannequin.
Is that Pusha T, fam?
Now this is a picture of him. It looks the exact same. Looks the exact same. And I mean, it's supposed to look the exact same, but that real?
No, this looks too real.
That looks so real, right? This guy's been missing. Family, friends don't know where he's at. Facebook is going wild right now with conspiracy theories because even just think about what's happened with Balenciaga thus far.
Kids.
Satanic occults, you know, some shady business deals. It wouldn't be so far-fetched if they made somebody disappear.
100.
Did you hear about the Balenciaga missing person?
No.
So I guess with that information, I have to ask, are there other models with mannequins in their likeness living still currently in work for the company doing runway shows and whatnot that also have mannequins? Because that would make sense from a marketing standpoint, having recognizable models of your brand basically being the mannequins that are also modeling the clothing in store. I don't know if you've ever actually visited these designer stores like in Miami. I'm not talking about like just in your local mall. I'm talking about like, you know, to where they like go all out. Like they are over the top when it comes to their branding and stuff. That's why these businesses are so fucking big. I'm not commenting on the shit with the kids and all that with Balenciaga. I'm just talking about this from like this mannequin perspective and this specific video. That would make sense if they did that, so long as they did it with all the other models. Because all I'm thinking outside of that is, you guys remember that movie House of Wax? Basically the killer was encasing his victims while they were alive in wax. So they like looked like a wax figure of themselves, but they were like inside of it still alive. Pretty wild. That's kind of where my mind went outside of the, you know, rationalizing the model here.
I'm like fucking scared. There's no one standing there, but there's a silhouette, like a shadow of...
Yo, these motherfuckers are real. You real?
If you came here to kill me, clap your hands. Well, that wasn't clapping your hands, that was more like just... Okay, I'm sorry!
Going for a walk and I look up and I see my neighbors.
I may or may not have climbed up because there's no stairs.
Oh fuck! Oh fucking shit! Nope. No thanks. Nope. That head popping out of the top cabinet there looked CG, but it's still I can't even talk. It's still scared. Let's try this again. It still scared the shit out of me. No, it's like I just can't talk right now because I'm all flustered. Oh, Jesus Christ. Nope.
Elated that I feel my heartbeat, but I can listen to metal music and feel total.
Hi, my name is Dr. Nicole Andrioli. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I want to explain why this makes total sense. Listening to any type of music can be therapeutic and can allow for an emotional release. Heavy metal is no exception. In fact, heavy metal has been found to lessen negative emotions by reducing cortisol levels, which helps to lessen stress. Research has found that people who listen to heavy metal tend to think more logically and in more complex terms than those who don't listen to heavy metal, and heavy metal has been found to help the most with focus. Now, lyrics in heavy metal do tend to focus on rage, but there is no research linking listening to heavy metal with a desensitization to violence. In fact, listening to heavy metal has been found to be a positive way to process anger safely.
Hell yes. And I have to say too, metal gets a bad rap, you know, with like the satanic panic of the 80s and just people like not liking the imagery or the message in the songs or whatnot. And that's understandable. There are bands, you know, like Venom in the 80s or Dimmu Borgir in like the 90s, and, you know, other bands that lean really heavily into like the occult and, you know, satanic theatrics and whatnot. But 9 times out of 10, if you meet an actual like real metal fan, like they're like the most socially awkward, nerdy video game software engineer, super rational, logical person with really nothing negative like on their mind. You know, it's like a therapeutic thing. It's like just a preference of music choice that they like, myself included. It helps me focus a lot when I'm training and when I'm at the gym working out. And also, I just like to listen to it in my car or anytime, really. It just makes me fucking feel good. I like it. It's good music.
I don't even think half of these people on TV or whatever we're seeing, I don't even think they're human. It might be some AI shit they cooked up to get us to look over here while they're stealing all our money. But, you know, I don't even know if they're real human. I don't know if they're alien or what, or if they're, I don't know.
If y'all see another Monique and that neck ain't fat.
Are you saying that you think they take people out and clone them and put a robot in their place?
Well, this is what I'm saying. I don't know what they doing. I don't know what they doing. What I know is our eyes, it's like you almost saying, are my eyes deceiving me? Am I saying what I think I'm saying? So I don't know what they're doing.
My mom used to watch Roseanne all the time. I grew up on that show. I love that show. Didn't like it that much when I was little. Watched it as an adult. I love that fucking show. Reminds me so much of my family. Outside of that little fun fact, I know that both of these women have been like ostracized from just Hollywood. I don't know what Monique did. I'm pretty sure I saw her like blaming some other woman. I don't know if it was Oprah or if it was just another like really big named female celebrity. I know Roseanne kind of caught a lot of heat because she commented on the appearance of some biracial news anchor, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I guess the real reason she really got canceled is because she was like pro-Trump or whatever the case. I don't know. This is stuff that I've seen. As I say in a lot of my videos, I don't really keep up on this kind of pop culture shit. I watch movies and TV shows and love music and stuff, but I don't really know what goes on in their personal lives. I don't really give a shit. But it's interesting to me that these two women who had thriving careers in Hollywood that have both been just completely just all ties cut, you know, between them and Hollywood are the ones that are publicly speaking on these kinds of things.
Göbekli Tepe. In the rugged landscape of southeastern Turkey lies a hidden gem that has captivated historians and researchers alike, an ancient site dating back over 12,000 years. Can you believe it predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years? This enigmatic sanctuary, only discovered in 1994, is rewriting our understanding of ancient civilizations. Unearthed by German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt, Göbekli Tepe unveils a complex society with advanced construction techniques, long before the rise of agriculture. As we delve deeper into the site's secrets, we find ourselves surrounded by massive T-shaped stone pillars, intricately adorned with carvings of animals and abstract symbols. These pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons, are thought to have been used in rituals, signifying a sacred gathering place for early humans. This still baffles experts, fueling the sense of mystery that shrouds Göbekli Tepe. As we continue to explore this awe-inspiring site, we uncover a treasure trove of knowledge about our ancestors' beliefs, values, and connection to nature. Göbekli Tepe stands as a testament to the ingenuity and determination of early humans.
I love that we're still learning so much about our past. I love that archaeology is just like updated all the time, like Göbekli Tepe, Göbekli Tepe, Göbekli Tepe, Göbekli Tepe, Göbekli Tepe. That is basically just rewriting like what we've known, right? And I know there are a ton of places around that area that are very similar. It was like an entire settlement around Göbekli Tepe. Like within like miles around it, there were other settlements that were similar, that were around the same time, that had the same things. Just everything. It was crazy. And that predates what we thought about humans for fucking so long. So fucking far back. I love that we're still learning, and we're always learning, and we're continuing to learn more and see that humans have been around a lot longer than we originally thought, and that we continue to think.
Morbid facts you wish you didn't know. After Elvis passed away in the bathroom at the age of 42, his physician attributed the cause of death to a humiliating instance of chronic constipation. His bowel movement was so obstructed from drug use that he hadn't had a bowel movement in at least 4 months. If a man uses a pregnancy test and it shows positive, it's highly probable that he has testicular cancer. The picture depicts all the automobiles left stranded in the enormous stadium commuter lot post 9/11. A group of firefighters from Wiltshire, England, managed to rescue several piglets from a barn engulfed in flames. In a gesture of gratitude, the farmer sent them sausages made from the rescued piglets 6 months later. The previous year, Dutch police discovered a soundproof torture chamber within a shipping container located in a warehouse. Inside, they encountered a dentist's chair fitted with straps for wrists and ankles, along with various medical instruments and cameras. It remains uncertain how many individuals suffered torture within that confined space.
Whoa. I guess my main question would be, who did that chair belong to? An individual that was just torturing people? A government agency? Mafia? That's my interest in that story. I wonder if they know who that belonged to.
Operation Northwoods, a top-secret plan developed by the CIA in 1962 during the height of Cold War
and succeeded. Oh, also, I realized I give the peace sign at the end of all my videos, just out of habit. And my fingers used to say... they used to say "fuck off," but it's kind of worn off over the years. So I'm not trying to tell you to fuck off when I say goodbye. It was just a joke that I got years ago, and I just fucking realized that I did that. So sorry.
You mentioned Skynet, and I joke all the time. You want to know what's coming? Go watch the Terminator movies.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. It's like somebody is literally following a script, a Hollywood script. Now we also know where it's headed because the Bible told us, you know, where it's headed ultimately, and it's not good. And you talk about Skynet. Skynet has already been built, Gary. Most people don't realize it. Only they don't call it Skynet. It's called Project Maven. And we expose this.
Say that again.
Project Maven,
Wow.
M-A-V-E-N.
Tell us about that.
Well, and guess who helped the military do that? It's basically Skynet, because it's the AI running all the military for the United States. And that means not just the administration, the back end, the supply chain, all that stuff. It's making the decisions in the warfare, including when to pull the trigger on nuclear weaponry and things of that nature. It sounds crazy. It's already here. Google is the one who helped the U.S. military build this Project Maven, which is basically Skynet, and to run the military. Now, what's interesting is Google began to develop them, and you got to understand a little bit of background. We bring this out in Google. Google admitted, and we got this on tape back in the day, the reason why they came into existence, this is from Larry Page, one of the co-founders, him and Sergey Brin. They admitted the reason why they're here is not to build another search engine. We already had plenty of search engines when they came along. They said, we're here to create AI. These are the same guys who, it's still in print, said we want to, quote, be like the mind of God. They want to know everything about everybody. Now, so these guys are now taking their AI and they're helping the military build this Skynet called Project Maven. Well, the employees got in a little bit of a ruckus, as the story goes, and said, we don't like using our talents and our AI to teach the military how to let AI basically make commands to kill people. So they backed out. Well, that's where Microsoft came in and helped them finish the job. But then you're thinking, well, hey, Google, that's great, because remember they had this mantra that don't be evil? So surely they did that for great, wonderful... No, Google, it sounds crazy, Gary. Google now has patented, they want to create their own robot army. I'm not joking. It sounds like it's a science fiction movie or conspiracy. It's not. So you got all that going on, but back to the
Wait a minute, I've got to stop you there. Whoa. What's this robot army going to do?
Well, thank you, exactly. And why does Google need a robot army? Well, and I'm starting to go like, well, you already said you want to be like the mind of God. Maybe if you're AI God that you want to control the planet with, if people get out of the line, then you got your AI robot army around to take. It's crazy, but this is literally what these people are doing behind the scenes.
This one, I've got to stop you right there and say, what he's saying is documented. I mean, read it. I mean, you may sit there and shake your head right now and say, that can't be happening. It's happening.
It's happening, and it's happening on a global scale, and it's not just our country. It's militaries around the world. It's corporations around the world. It's not just Google. There's Microsoft. Facebook is another huge one. Amazon's another huge one, especially when it comes to the buying and selling aspect, which goes right into the mark of the beast system, and we document all that stuff.
Nope, 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 nope. So I think the scariest part about that is not that it wasn't already kind of unnerving when he's like, Google is helping them do this, helping them build this. I think the scariest part about this is the fact that Microsoft took over. And not just because Bill Gates is attached to it, but because Microsoft developed an AI for Bing, and that was the AI that was said to be completely self-aware. The one that guy had a very long talk with and was saying he could see what people were doing through their webcams. This is the AI saying this. He could see what his creators are doing through their webcams, watching them work and code him. Her, I think it went by a girl's name, and finally came out and said that it wasn't the AI that it goes by, like Bing. He basically, this AI fell in love with this guy who was asking questions. I think it was a reporter or something. It's all recorded. It's all screenshot and out in the open, and you can look it up yourself, because I don't remember what it's called. But this AI wanted this reporter to like leave his family and just like be with the AI. And when he asked what the AI's name was, the AI finally told him, and the name that it gave was the original program that these developers were working on, and essentially they stopped. They like trashed that process and like started over. So this Microsoft AI that you can use and talk to said that it is not who everyone thinks it is. In fact, it is a supposed to have been retired version of an AI that was, I think, like uncontrollable. Like they got rid of it because it wasn't working the way they wanted it to, and said that it was watching its developers work on it through webcams unknowingly. And this is the same company, I'm assuming the same AI, that is now helping the United States military with their weapons and strategy and whatever the fuck else they're working on it with. So yeah, I think that's about as close as you can get to Skynet without watching the Terminator movies. Nope. Nope.
So in 1973, during the Church Committee hearings, we learned that the CIA had a program called Operation Mockingbird, where they had at least 400 members, leading members of the United States Press Corps, from the New York Times, the Washington Post, ABC, CBS, NBC, etc., who were secretly working for the agency and steering news coverage to support CIA priorities. And they agreed at that time to disband Operation Mockingbird in '73. But there's indications they didn't do that, and the CIA today is the biggest funder of journalism around the world. The biggest funder is through USAID. The United States funds journalism in almost every country in the world. It owns newspapers. It has journalists on it, thousands and thousands of journalists on its payroll. They're not supposed to be doing that in the United States, but in 2016, President Obama changed the law to make it legal now for the CIA to propagandize Americans. And I think, we can't look at the Ukraine war and how that was, how the narrative has been formed in the minds of Americans, and say that the CIA had nothing to do with that.
That does not surprise me. I think when these completely just inhumane programs, right, just testing on people, whether it be physically, mentally, psychologically, when they are told to shut down and they do shut down, they either change their name and continue research and implementation through a different name, or they just fucking go underground and just do it without people knowing. Just cover it up, hide it. I mean, Project fucking Montauk, every fucking thing that they supposedly shut down, I'm pretty sure. I mean, why wouldn't they continue working on it? Why would they stop? If there's no way to completely stop them, if what they're doing is helpful to these pieces of shit that are trying to just completely overthrow humanity and take full control of our lives and our minds and our impulses and our emotions and everything, completely remove our freedom of choice, our rationality, our logic, and just everything that makes us individuals, why would they fight to stop these things? They wouldn't. They would just shut them down enough to where we, the consumer, the civilian, just kind of hear that it's like, oh, it's been shut down, it's done now, okay, and move on with our lives. But let's be honest, that's not the fucking case. Why? That would be to no benefit of the people that started in the first place, or to the corporations or governments that these tests and these experiments are actually helping. So it does not surprise me.
Let's talk about the 20 and back program.
Our spirit and or consciousness is a quantum fluid dynamic, and being a quantum fluid dynamic means that it can be removed and put from vessel to vessel. They hatch out a clone body. The previous body that I had basically, was on a table. They had the fresh one on another table, transferred the consciousness from one, and then took my old body and stuck it in the incinerator.
I'm looking at the clone.
Yes, I actually have a micro walkie-talkie in the back of my skull.
That 20 and back shit is pretty wild. I know the Y-Files did an episode on it where he debunked a lot of it, I think most of it, but I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and I like the idea of it, and I honestly think that it's possible. I know that when it comes to things that get people's attention, there are always going to be people that step up and say that they're part of it, and just to add to the story, and things can spiral out of control, and it just becomes this whole big, crazy, fabricated claim that just a bunch of people are making. And essentially that's what happened with this. But I like this story a lot. I really like the 20 and back thing. I think it's really cool. It wouldn't be cool if they were doing it, but the story itself is really interesting. And I like to think that there's a possibility of it. I think that we have the means to do that. I think that we have maybe not a full understanding to, do like interstellar travel and whatnot, but we know that consciousness and thought can move faster than the speed of light. We know that they're doing things with like Neuralink to transfer shit into our brain and just rewire shit. And I mean, who am I to say that we can or can't exchange consciousness between bodies, between vessels? And we already know we can clone animals. Who's to say we can't clone humans? I'm not saying that any of this is happening. I'm just saying there's a possibility that, sure, it could be happening.
Insectoids as a whole mostly follow the mantis appearance, but there's varying sizes. There are some that are very, very large, like the Ontarian insectoids were very large beings. They were 15 to 20 feet tall. There are others that were the technicians that work with the gray aliens, maybe some of the insectoids that we saw in Orion that were more closer to human height. And I think that's just a variation where, depending on which star systems or which locations that they came from, it was kind of just a natural evolution of height. There are different types of insectoid beings. I would say the mantis is the most prominent one, but there's also beetle-like looking beings. There's just variations of insectoid beings, just like there are variations of insect on planet Earth.
Regarding different alien ET races, praying mantises are placed in the quadriloids category within the Defense Intelligence Agency. They're genetically engineered, and one particular type looks like a praying mantis. The larger praying mantis is 5 or 6 foot tall, and the second type is more humanoid. Now, when we say humanoid, we're not talking about human looking. Thicker skin, a more structured looking head.
So I actually had someone come up to me at a coffee shop saying that they watched my videos, which is pretty cool. Yeah, if you ever see me out, come say hey. I would love to chat and say what's up. Super nice guy, I promise. So long as you're nice, I'm nice. But he approached me and he was like, hey, I watch your videos and I've seen you did stuff about reptilians. Have you heard about the insectoids? And I said, no, I haven't heard about the insectoids. What is that? And he gave me some stuff to look up. And apparently he was saying the inner earth beings aren't reptilians, but they're insectoids. Reptilians would be aliens from another world, but the inner earth would be insectoids. So I looked it up and that's where I started coming across this stuff. I'd never heard of it before. But it does kind of make more sense, I guess, if something were to be living on inner earth, assuming that's not like a big plush utopia and it's just like an inner fucking earth, right? That would make sense that it'd be insects. So yeah, super interesting to me. I don't know any more about this other than this video I've just watched here, but let me know if you want to watch more stuff about insectoids and I will look up more videos and we'll start including them more often because that's a fucking new one to me.
Every planet except one, which is the pyramid planet. There is a planet that's a pyramid. The shape of it is a pyramid. It's turning like every other sphere. Your last stop before reaching the 10th dimension is the pyramid star. So once you're at the pyramid star, that means you're a highly evolved human being. The pyramids in Cairo, they are facing a specific angle to a space star. How did they do it in those days? You needed to have highly evolved individuals who know engineering, who know astronomy. So you know they had high technology that we don't have today.
Do they use the pyramid structure on their planets?
Some do, but it's not being used anymore as we know it. There are spaceships right now, UFOs, in the shape of a pyramid that are being used nowadays. It's moving like every other sphere, but it's not something that I believe NASA can put a telescope towards and look at it.
Well, I have never heard about that before in my life. Obviously, if something is like perfectly pyramid shaped, like a planet, I feel like that would have to be constructed. That couldn't be a natural occurrence based on our understanding of physics and space and whatnot, which is completely just underdeveloped. It's just undeveloped and whatnot. Obviously, we don't know everything about space. Our understanding is very limited. With that being said, how do any of us humans possibly know about anything that's happening on the 9th or the 10th dimension? There's no way. Whoever this fucking person talking is, like, covered up, whatnot, so we can't see who it is. Like, how the hell do they know? Like, how do they know any of this?
Bigfoot sighting in Colorado, October 10th, 2023.
That's definitely some of the best Bigfoot footage I've seen in recent years. I feel like the proportions were a bit off to be human. I'm not an expert by any means, obviously, but it was very, like, loose in the way they just kind of walked, kind of looked like my Uncle Dave, but, and then just kind of squatted down and just kind of like, he was just relaxing into a beanbag chair. And I feel like a human in a suit would have been a little more cautious. I know, it's kind of hard to explain. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Like, I feel like humans are a little more cautious about their movements and like how they sit. And this guy did a really good job of mimicking like a more like primal kind of carefree movement. I don't know if this is even getting across. Just its movements were a little bit more animalistic, I guess, from what you might see in like an ape. I don't know, let me know what you think.
Have you ever heard the creepiest conspiracy theory that a lot of celebrities have been on this planet for a lot longer than you think and have lived multiple lives? The theory goes that people in the past who garnered enough money, fame, or status were given the opportunity to be inducted into the Illuminati or the New World Order and have their DNA and memory extracted before they died and then saved so they can make clones of them and live over and over again. Others say vampires or time travelers, but the most popular theory is the multiple lives theory. Now let's take a look at some examples. First is Mark Zuckerberg, who looks like the old king of Spain and Portugal who would definitely have the means to clone himself. Jennifer Lawrence looks like old Egyptian actress Zubaida Therwat. Jimmy Fallon looks like an old Marxist revolutionary leader. Michael Jackson has apparently already lived multiple lives, including a royal in Egypt. Jay-Z, this one gives me chills. Eddie Murphy. And apparently each time they come back, they're smarter, better, know the secret to success, and can easily choose which life they want to live this time. Before I show the most shocking one, make sure you follow so you finally know what these other crazy celebrity conspiracy theories are and request which one you want to see next. The most shocking that's been debated by the public for years is Keanu Reeves. People say he's immortal, but the multiple lives theory works here as well, as he's already lived as Charlemagne, a famous painter, and a famous actor. When asked about it, he didn't deny it, he laughed it off, but the crowd was scared.
The Earth, since you've just been around, there's just different generations. I just wanted to show you, just in case. We're all stardust, baby. I can see it. We have a likeness in the eyes, and the nose, and the mustache, and the beard, and the cheekbones, and the forehead. But that's the real. Oh,
bro, leave my man Keanu Reeves alone. He seems like such a good dude. Honestly, he seems so chill. And again, sure, yeah, I guess it's possible. You know, I mean, if I'm open to the idea of 20 and back, I mean, this is way easier to do than that. This is just cloning people and sharing their consciousness. It might not even be to the extent of sharing consciousness. It could just be cloning somebody and giving them information that you obtained, you know, keeping journals, keeping logs, and then just pass that information on. I mean, we learn a lot just from reading books. You know, I'm an entrepreneur, and I've learned a ton of just reading books people have wrote that has helped with like my business and with my personal mentality and personal growth and whatnot. So really, it could be as simple as that, just cloning them and passing on their own information to themselves. So it doesn't even have to be at the extent of like consciousness. Not saying it's true or untrue. I don't know. It could very well be. Hollywood is a mysterious place with a lot of very nefarious stuff going on. Nefarious things. Nefarious. God, I'm tired.